Good afternoon, guys. Let's just get this set up. So I'm looking at the New York session at the moment. We're going to have a look at the USD JPY and following on from this morning's session, took a little bit of a loss, but nothing major. Overall, looking back on that data again over the last 3 days, take away yesterday, which was a US holiday. Over them 2 days, if I hadn't been moving my fence post and my bias, we would be sitting with a 15% growth for this week, which is fantastic. Again, we are paper trading. Got to stress that we are demo trading, and I'm just sort of forward testing the method, and I'm sharing the journey on what I'm doing with this. Again, the purpose is for 2 reasons. It keeps me accountable on me producing content and trying to share that journey. And if someone could take one thing away from the videos that I do, then it's happy days. If anybody is watching the videos and you're not too sure on anything, you just need to comment below or reach out to me personally. You can see in the description on the YouTube links, there's plenty of ways you can get in contact with me, and then we can sort of have a little bit of a one-to-one and have a chat, and then see where you're going with your trading and see if I can help you the best I can. If I cannot, I have the perfect community and group that I can put you in to get access to a lot of other traders out there. And then from there, we can progress together and be profitable traders. So what I'm going to do is, after we've gotten that housekeeping out the way with, I'm just going to share the screen and set up the goalposts for this afternoon. Okay. So if you just bear with me, got my handsome Geordie face on the screen at the moment, but I will be taking that off in due course. So I'm just going to delete and remove those. Just going to put my kill zones into play. Again, going to auto do the charts. We can see, just as a rundown, we've got the yellow boxes. That was the UK session from this morning. We've got, if I go back to, instead of UK time, we need to go to New York. And again, we're coming up to, where are we at? 7 o'clock at the moment. So the 1 o'clock will be UK time, will be coming up to the start of the New York session. So I'm just going to set the goalposts first of all. Have a look at the daily. Okay. And we're just going to set some parameters in here. We've got the previous daily high. Previous daily high. And then we've got a previous daily low. Let's have a look. I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to put these in black, to be fair. Really high. Okay, so that's the range from yesterday. We've spiked out of it. Okay, we can see imbalance wise, we'll get this marked up. Got a fair value gap coming into play around about there. So that's like that could be a target area, because overall the directional bias, we've broke and swept below here. We are now bearish. Okay, so we've created highs up here, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We may find that we might come into this target area, and then again, I like doing these sort of biases before we open up. We might find we come out and then creating a lower high to then come down to take a lower low off the previous day low. Okay, again, that's just a thought. It's just a process, and it's just something I'm looking at, because when we look at this, you can see here we are now taking out stops on this side. Okay, so that is just an overview. We'll go to the hour. We've now got the imbalance above here. We have also got, like I say, the high of yesterday. Okay, let's just see. So that's the previous daily. So that was the previous daily high. And in fact, that's incorrect. That should be up here. That should be up here. That's coming into 9 o'clock at night. And then back, that's the New York one. I'm going to keep this to where we were. Going to keep it where we were in the box, to be honest. From there, let's take a look. So we've got the midnight open. So we put our midnight line in. Midnight of January the 17th. We can see from a box from what it was showing us, okay, the previous daily up to there. You want to put a target line in there as well, horizontal rear. 50% of previous. So I'm just going to put 50% previous day. So that's a swing. See if we can get this on a dotted line. Get rid of that. That's a 50% of the previous day. And then from there, let's go down to 15 minutes. We can see we've got the midnight open of price. Okay. Midnight open of price, which is here on this candle. So there's a structure point here. We're sweeping down on this. Again, remember, I said I was possibly looking at price to come up into this area. Okay. So generally what we will get is a sweep. Okay. So we got a sweep during the London session. We've left behind some fair value. Okay. So we might see we're going to get a sweep coming into New York session, sweeping this before we get a push to the upside. Okay. So what I'm possibly looking at, what I'm edging my bets on now is we've come into London, made highs, made low, swept the high from here. Now I'm expecting to come down into this fair value gap before pushing up into there. Okay. From there, I just want a horizontal rear. Want to do that, and this is going to be the session high template. That's previous. New York open high. New York open low. And it's just giving us, this is just giving us barriers of areas to look into. Okay. So that's my bias at the moment. That's what I'm expecting. Possibly a swoop underneath the open of the midnight candle coming into this session. And we've got our fence posts set up. Okay. Again, in balance here. We've got a range. Just got to talk about that a moment. From the low to that high. That's a range that we're working in at the moment. We're between areas. We've got an imbalance within this area. So I do strongly, firmly believe we'll come in to respect this sort of area. But from there as well, we may even find price will mitigate through that. We might even get a sweep coming into this. If we do get a sweep coming into that area, okay, we could look for possibly a sweep, a movement, and then from a trading plan aspect, if I just put this here, if I just get the trading plan that I'm following in the context of that, that's the trading plan. Okay. We're looking for liquidity grab. So in this instance, the liquidity grab would be what we see coming below here or below here or even below here. We've got three areas of interest. Displacement comes after the fact of momentum. So as we take a liquidity grab, we look for displacement coming up the high side. Thus, when the candles are coming down, the selling into the buying pressure, whatever we get pushing back up above these highs, okay, if we get a good buying pressure, we are looking for this sort of stuff, the FVGs. And that's the three principles we're working towards. We're setting up the parameters. We're setting up what we're seeing. Again, these areas of point of interest at the moment. If we get a sweep on these, I do firmly believe my bias for this at the moment is going to be coming up towards, like I see these high sides. And like I said, I'm just going to put on there, get rid of this. And this is going to be 50% of the daily of the daily FBG. Okay, I'm just going to put that on there. I've got some parameters set up. We've got something that we're working between. Again, we can see here, again, we are pushing and taking liquidity from the previous days. Towards the end of yesterday, we took highs here. And it's good to mark these things up, you know, so you're getting an understanding. So we took liquidity on a liquidity grab, that there from this here. And again, as you go down into even into the 5 minutes, you know, we just looking to see if there's any form of fair value gaps. I just want to see what was happening from yesterday, you know. So look at this, guys. Look at this. As we drilling it down, okay. Yesterday, fair value gap there to there. Look at that. Can't make it up. It's coming in and it's playing into where, like I say, the trading plan comes into effect. Let's get that trading plan over here. Where are we at? Let's get that over here. And we'll just have a look at pre-setup. So we speak about what's going on here, coming into London session, you know, pre-London today. We had a high from yesterday late on. We come down, we took a break of structure. Okay. And like I say, liquidity was residing here. Okay. So we took a liquidity grab here. And again, this is like looking at it from an overall view, to be fair. We took a liquidity grab there. So we got a liquidity grab and there was displacement. Okay. So the displacement, we look back and we look at where fair value gaps are. Again, you could have really had one there as well and took a trade down from here. But again, it came back up into the new day at around about 2 o'clock in the morning, a few hours before the London session, and it's mitigated into this order block. And again, you've got to be at the charts at the correct time. If you had that and just set it above that high, and you have the previous daily 50% of the previous daily, okay, that there could have been a 1 to 14 nearly on a trade. Absolutely phenomenal. But again, it hasn't quite traded down into that. So like I said, we might actually get that in fairness if we go back on that. That's where it's come back to mitigating the thing. We've got just above that high. Again, it was around about a 1 to 14, wasn't it? So what you're going to see here, again, I'm expecting price to come down to mitigate through these areas. And when you look at here, we touched into the imbalance now, okay, of the fair value gap on the higher thing. Was sweeping the midnight open of price. We're coming in. We're looking at one or two things, either the point of interest here, point of interest on the yesterday's 8:30, or the New York open low, which is down here. We are looking for price to possibly come down further just before the green box of the New York open comes up. I'm just going to get rid of this and basically create the liquidity grab displacement fair value gap. Okay, going to get rid of that. Just a bit of pre-New York open fun, I suppose. But again, we're looking back and we're re-analyzing stuff, and we're seeing what price has done, how price has behaved. And it's a fun thing to do because then you're getting an understanding of structure. Okay, just go back onto auto. So I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to pause the video. We will come back once we get a setup going with regards to the New York kill zone opening up. Okay, guys. When I come back, I'll not be showing my handsome Geordie face, but we'll be back in a short while. Okay, I hope you're taking notes and you're starting to see a little bit of structure form on how I'm perceiving this. Again, what I'm saying might be different to somebody else, but it's good to take notes on what people are doing. You can see on here, if we move back up, like I say, we've got fair value gap. That's the 5 minute. We go up to 15 minutes. Just before I close this off. So we've got wick to wick on the 15 minute. You can see as we come down to 5 minutes, we're coming into play into this a bit. So it's coming in, it's sort of going into the bias that I thought. So again, guys, I'll pause the video. We'll be back in a short while. Take a look at this, guys. Like I said, I had my bias ready for before the New York Open would come. We're now mitigated through the imbalance area, okay? We've even come down to the New York low, and we've taken out the New York low from the beginning of midnight through the UK session. So there's been a takeout here. So again, I'm just going to mark this back. We'll get rid of this range at the moment because we no longer need that. Again, we've now got a new low that has came, which is this here. We've taken out the previous lunch hour from the other day. Okay, as we look on here, this is the lunch hour. Or like the session. Just cancel that off. So we can see we've got more or less. This was the 8:30 opening from the other day. Again, taking it down to the 1 minute. I might see if I can get in on a trade pre-New York Open, to be fair. Like I say, we wait for the trading plan. Where is that trading plan at? Let's take a look. Or have I moved it? I must have deleted it off. No worries. We'll get it on here. And at the moment, we've traded through the points of interest. So I'm waiting for a break of structures. Okay, we've got the fence posts laid out, the point of interests. I'm not interested in any higher or lower areas. I've got everything pre-marked and predetermined. I'm just waiting to see what is going to be happening with price at the moment. We had a slight pullback here. I might not enter straight away. Okay, at the moment, what we're seeing is an imbalance or a fair value gap forming here. But again, we've got 9 seconds left. And if I just go onto this, we'll just get the screen cursor. That works better. So we've got the closer candle. Okay. Now we could see we may find an entry, and I'm not going to get in on this just yet. I'll just get in on there, and we could have this as a target up to the lowest hanging fruit. We could have it up to the midnight here. There's just under a 1 to 2%. I'm not going to get in on the trade just yet because I'm not in the kill zone. I'm just going to see how the market reacts to this area. We sort of forward testing with this. Again, we started the day at $150, took a bit of a loss, clawed some of it back with take partials. Overall, we could be sitting at 15%, but that is due to no fault of my own. I just got to learn to sit on my hands when I've got a trade entry. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this as it is at the moment. Again, it looks a bit messy on the chart, but we need to keep these levels on here. Again, guys, we wait for the liquidity grab. So again, you've got the liquidity grab from that aspect there. You're waiting for the displacement. The displacement's coming up through, and then you look for the fair value gap. We got it there. Waiting for a return back down on price, and then a move back over again. New York time. We are currently sitting at 7:45. So we've got another hour or so before we come into the New York Open. So we may be able to get in on a trade, I suppose, to get a little bit of profit. But again, I don't want to come into anything too early. I'm going to sit on my hands and see what it brings, but there's no harm in marking things up to see what this would actually have given. Okay, I do believe we might come a little bit lower. We've got a previous day low here, and we've got 50% of the previous. So we've got the daily high, the daily low of yesterday. Okay, 50% of yesterday's swing and range. I do think we may come that little bit lower. If we go on to the Forex factory news, see if there's any news coming up. Again, we've got the card. Let's have a look and just see if we're in London time. See the settings. You go into the markets calendar. Let's see where we are. Tuesday. 115. So we've got a lot of CAD news today at 1:30, and we've got some red folder USD news. So if I was trading this on a live funded account like a prop firm, I would be staying out of this today, to be fair. But again, we're paper trading. We can forward test and see how we get on with it. We just need to be careful and mindful of what's happening. We've got two areas at the moment, like I say. We've got a 50% range, which I'm interested in. Again, we've now made a new New York open low. So that New York open low means from the midnight of the start of today, we've created high and low points, but we've now took liquidity, like I say, from when we were inside the UK session. We've took that liquidity out and we've formed a new New York open low. From there, we've done a liquidity grab on this small spinning top candle, moved up, left behind a fair value gap. Again, this is pre-New York open. We'll see. We'll get a touch back down to get some small profit. I'm not entering it officially. I'm just marking it on the chart to see if it would have given that like just under 2%. We'll pause the video. We'll come back in a short while. I do believe we are around about New York time. We're around about an hour and 15 minutes from being the New York open. Okay, so we'll see what happens and then we'll move forward from there, guys. Okay, guys, so now we're coming into the hour pre-New York open, you know, so we may start seeing another run back down into these areas. Again, we had an imbalance area here with regards to price to come back up to mitigate into it. Now we're seeing a run back down into this area. Again, I'm not officially taking this trade. I want to wait until I'm inside of my kill zone just to see what does happen. Again, point of interest wise, we've got that new low of the New York open from this morning. We created liquidity grab from here. Okay, we then had a run on price, forming a displacement, leaving behind the fair value gap. I'm just going to get rid of that now. This one is still unfulfilled. Okay, so we've had a run on price, liquidity grab, displacement, fair value gap is here. This is pre-New York open. We'll see if we can get a touch and a play into this, which would possibly give a 1.82 return. Again, we are not officially entering this. We are going to wait until we see what sort of levels are taken going into the New York open today at 9 a.m. in New York. Again, I'm doing this from the UK. It's 1 o'clock at the moment in the UK. And if I'll just get this and just make this along here. My directional bias at the moment from what we did at the beginning of the session, again, is still holding. It's coming down nicely to where I thought. Again, we've got little areas down here creating that new low, expecting a bit of a sweep. Price is now starting to range back up. But again, we might find that obviously we take out, we've got a previous daily high as well. So depending on what price wants to do, we may see a sweep either side. Overall, I just want to see what the pip gap is from the previous daily mid-range to the high. About 80 pips there. The New York high for today. Let's just see if we can get this off a minute. So we've got the New York open, okay? That's the New York open of price right here. To the lowest point from the highest, we've got a pip range of around about 70 or 80 pips as well, you know. So again, we're just going to wait, let this hour play out. I'm just seeing and just keeping an eye on what's happening with this at the moment, just to see if the cheeky trade would have came in. But overall, we just want to see the range. I'm going to mark up the range on this one. So leading up to the open of the New York, okay, we're going to do whatever the high to the low, like the range is, if that makes sense. And we'll work upon that as well. Because like I say, we've got our point of interests all marked. The fence posts are there. We've got the daily range overall, New York high open, New York high low. We've got the previous days in there. We've got the midnight open range. So we've got the medium line, if that makes sense. And then we've also got the medium line of the previous day. So we've got a lot of point of interest of target areas, if that makes sense. And then from there, just to reiterate, we've got the trading plan was set in stone. We're looking for the liquidity grab, a displacement, and then look for the fair value gap after one of these areas has been breached. Okay. And we'll just take it from there. I'll see you in about an hour. I'm going to pause the video. I'll be back in a short while. Okay, guys, so we're about half an hour away from the open at the moment. Again, I was looking at something like this to come down to trade into with regards to the displacement that we got through the previous London low on the New York. Again, it might still come into fruition. Excuse me. It looks like price is now going to start fluctuating heavily just before that New York kill zone. Okay, we've seen a bit of a wiki attempting price on that. And again, look where it's starting to do this from the midnight open, you know. So we'll see. It looks like it might actually tag into that. Again, got to stress, guys, this is not a trade. I have not got any limit orders set up. And we are not in the New York kill zone just yet. We're just saying if we can get a run on price. And again, I would possibly have that to around about there. It's tagged in now. Again, I would move this up to this high simply because it's broke structure there. This could potentially return at 2.5% beforehand. We can see their price is now moving up. Look at that. Oof, this is getting wiki. Again, let's just see if we do target this high from the displacement, which, like I say, it's a 2.59%. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm going to stay on the video at the moment. Going to let this play out for a few seconds. We are technically half an hour before we go in. There's a London kill zone now. So in fact, we've got 13 pips. I'm going to enter a trade. We'll just go into a 15 pip, do a 0.25, 35 pip. We'll do a 30 pip. We'll risk 25 quid. See if we can get that in because we're coming into the New York session now. It's touched beautifully into this imbalance, mind, to be fair. Again, we've ended a little bit earlier than I would have liked to be fair. I should have gotten the entry. I should have set this as the limit order, to be honest. Let's just take a look. We'll have a look, see what happens if we take this to New York open high or the previous day high. It's a 1 to 3 and a bit. Just see if we can get this to play out. Might see if I can get in on another entry around about there. Getting a buy, 15 pip, 45 pip, 45 pip. And again, I just want to risk a tiny amount, to be fair. Risk around about a tenner going on to that, see if we can get another buy limit in. You know, it might be too early for it to see it's going to go to these areas. We might just get stopped out, to be fair. But overall, we're still within the profits of what we've gotten from the other day, you know. This is going to double up a trade in a moment. It's going to tag in. There's a tag. Is it going to tag? Come on. There's the tag. Let's see if we'll get the push a bit further up. Again, we're risking 40 odd quid, to be fair here. From there, it's going to run down into the lows, isn't it? I'm going to set the take partial on that area there. I think we're going to take these lows here, to be honest. Looks like we might have just getting in a little bit early. Come back into price. We needed to break above here. If we get it into this structure here, we'll be looking to close out. We'll get the buy position to buy the positions back. And we'll be looking to buy back what, around about 1,500 of those. And you'll see the 133 will grow up with regards to price. That's if the structure holds. Excuse me. And we get towards that area. Let's just see, we'll get the pressure coming back up. There comes the buy-in. Come on, push up. Put this side. 1,500 we want. So again, guys, we've got the low from the previous from the UK session. It came in. We made a new low area. We left a fair value gap behind. I'm getting ready to take out a position and take a partial if our SL can hold. I do think we're still going to be going for this area here, to be fair, but we'll see. We'll see if we can hold the nerve. There's no harm in pushing to try for that. Let's just see if price comes to our higher side. Just let it play. Again, we're on 133. Took a $17 hit this morning. If we held out from what the bias was, we could have been well in some good profit, to be fair. Here comes the push back up. Come on. Excuse me. Just need that bit more of a push. It's going to play around with us for a bit. Like I said, a little too late to the party. I shouldn't have entered on there. I should have just kept the entry from here. We would be in a better position than what we currently are at the moment, because we've pulled the trigger here. We should have just left it for an entry on this part, to be fair. But I've got the parameters set to close partials off if we can get that push a little bit more to the higher side. This is just like pre-New York Open, to be fair. We are looking approximately at the minute about 25 minutes before we get into that Open and the bell rings. We might take out the New York Open low, to be honest, and we've got our SLs just below that. Just get that little bit of a push higher. Come on. What I'm thinking at the moment is I think we're going to come down to this area instead of here. I think we will come down to purge this bit just before the 9 a.m. of New York time. We'll just see what happens. Just check my phone. Excuse me. Just want to get that little push on price. We've got ourselves in a precarious sort of position here. Like I say, I opened that trade when I shouldn't have. The first one onto this, because now I'm enduring some form of drawdown from within a higher bit rather than being from down here. Again, trigger happy. Need to learn to stop doing that and be a bit more patient. See if we can get around about a tenner of profit on here and claw some of that back from this morning and take a partial, you know. But when we do that, I've got to learn to sit on my hands instead of moving the SL. I think I would only move the SL to break even if we hit that midnight area or up here, which is the Open. of that New York. Again, it's all about patience, to be fair, and going on where we were from starting this. This is in our third day. We would be in around about 15% profit overall, you know. So I'm starting to warm to this concept very much so, you know, very much so warming to this concept. See if we can get a little bit of a push. Come on. Come on. Right, let's get ready. It wants to, but again, it's teasing. It's forming like a resistance area with regards to this range leg pullback. You can see on here to the right of the crosshair, without going too much into here, you can see it's forming a steady fence where it's just resisting from. We just want it to push through that. If we can get it to push through that and go back into where that line is above it, we can close off a partial, and I would be happy with that because we're closing the gap from the mistake we made earlier this morning, you know. And again, doing this in front of you, doing this in front of you live, it's keeping me accountable for what I'm perceiving to be learning from this concept. And if you can hear beeps in the background, it'll be because the Discord's going a little bit haywire, because there's other people trading this sort of concept during this window, you know. I don't want to pause the video just yet because I want you to see this happening in front of us, whether it comes in fields and it hits us out, or whether it goes to that point of interest I've got just above price action at the moment. If I can get onto that area, and then I've got, like I say, on the paper trading window, I can actually close out half of the position and be in not so much good profit, but on this trade there will be a little bit of profit. But then I need to learn not to move that SL, keep the position open, if that makes sense, and just trust the directional bias I've got. Unfortunately, like I say, I pulled the trigger 20 minutes early, or 25 minutes earlier than what I should have done. I still believe we're going to come down and make a newer low before we get a push on. And we'll just see what happens on this. Again, when you look at the orange line, this SL area, I've got $46. It's going to eat into the profits we've got for the last 3 days. That's going to take us into just under 1% of real term profits that I've getting when I've moved the SLs to break evens and things like that. We've, on paper, in the paper trades, we have only taken just over 1% growth. However, like I say, I go back on the process. If I trusted the process that I've been doing and kept with the bias that I have, then we would be sitting on a 15% growth account over the last few days, you know. So we just need a few extra pips push to the upside. If we can get that, we'll close the partial off. Again, that's going to take us a little bit more. Come on, a little bit more. So what you'll see here, we've got a roundabout, there we are. I'm going to close this in profit of 46, and it's going to keep me on $100 odd. If I can get that to 146 equity, then I'm going to close the partial, and then it's going to keep me at $100 of profit. Let's get back up to 146. It's just teasing. Right. So I've closed the partial. In fact, it's only took that little bit off there. In fact, it's there. Just got the partial from there. Stop loss, I'm still going to keep on here because, in fact, if we move this to around about here, the reason I've done that is simply because the $29 loss, in fact, we make this a 33.16. This will keep within the $100 profit, okay? From there, I want to see a purge higher. If we do come down and hit the stop loss, which we may do, it's still going to keep me within 1% profit over the last few days. Overall, if we have a look at the New York Open high, and we take this up to here, there could be a 5% gain. I might push this up to here and see if I can take partials up to that area, to be fair. What I'll do, guys, is I'll look at possibly taking another partial if I can hit that area. That'll be the next bit, and that's when I'll move to just above break even. Okay, so the preference is we need to get another push to this area here, and I'll set an alert. I want to take partial again and then move SL to break even. Okay, so I've created that there. Again, if we come back, we haven't got much area to play with. We've got around about a 15 pip maneuver back. If that maneuver comes back and stops me out, takes $33.16 out, it'll keep me on a 1% for the week of growth. Okay, so looking at this, it's pretty good. But if we do get that push higher, we'll look to take partials on this area here, and we'll look to move the SL to just above the break even, and we'll see if we can target the New York Open high. Okay, again, the directional bias is what I wanted to see. We come down, we had an area here. I thought we might have come down to these lower areas. We could still do that, but overall my bias is for price to come up higher. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. We'll be back in a short while and we'll see where we are at after this. At the moment, if I was to close this trade out, we would be in profit for today, but I'm just going to leave it where it's at and just trust and try and hold on to the trade that little bit more. Okay, we'll see what happens in a short while. Oh, very annoying, very annoying. It's come back again to where the break even bit is. Again, I'm going to try and enter. Should I enter a trade, or should I try and see if there's New York Open low comes in? Let's have a look. I'm just thinking out loud here, guys. Move this out. Move this out. I'm in two minds here. Do I get in on a trade on the re-entry and push for these areas again? Or do I see if we're going to come lower? I don't know. Let's have a look. Because again, we're not quite on the New York Open, to be fair. We're about 10 minutes away. It's a hard one to oversee, to be fair. We'll give it a little while. I'm annoyed at that. I'm now back down to 1% growth for this week. I'm just scared that this is going to shoot off, you know, and I don't want to get too much involved. We'll see if we'll get the liquidity grab. See if we'll get the liquidity grab from here, and see if we'll leave a fair value gap behind. Look at that. It's come back down. It's done exactly what it's been doing the last few days. It's starting to push again from this area. Damn annoying. Let's have a look. I'm not getting in on just yet. If it comes back down to retest, I might think about pushing the trigger again and then risking maybe a 1% on this 1 to 5. Let's have a look. See what happens when it comes to here. Let's take a look. See if I can risk it. By 15. Overall for 60 pip. 60 pip gain. 1%. 0.5. I'm going to risk a 0.5%. Let's have a look. Let's risk that 0.5%. We're eating into the profits a bit more now. See if we can get a position here. Again, we have got news, remember, where we're at. Forex Factory. USD news, it's been and gone. No more news till 8 o'clock. Let's see if we can get that pushed down into the entry. What we'll do is we'll pause the video, we'll come back to see if we've triggered this. We are risking, like I say, 0.5%. Now, there's a reason why instead of going for the 1% risk, I've gone with a half. It just means if we come lower and take out these, I can wait for that liquidity grab. So I really do believe that we're going to get a push on price to the high side, to be fair. Again, this may even pull away from me right now. We'll just have to wait and see. I'll pause the video. I'll be back in a second. It just means if we do stop out here, okay, and we do come lower, okay, I can then wait for the liquidity grab and displacement, look for the fair value gap, and then go for a second entry. So we'll be back in a short while. Couldn't make it up, guys, could you? So what we've done is we've actually moved that SL a little bit too early from the take partial. We should have trusted the process. And now the train is leaving the station. And it looks as if, again, if I move this down, it's a nice 1 to just under a 1 to 2, you know. We might get price come back. We've got 5 minutes before the London the New York Open starts, to be fair, just before 9 a.m. We might get a price come back down and touch into that. But again, it's the buy so far has been spot on, you know. Little to no drawdowns on this, but it's come back up and it's wicked into the New York Open of price. Okay, it's wicked back up into that. We might get a reaction coming back down, to be fair. And if we mark up and try and understand what price is doing, again, we've got an imbalance here. So there could be a retracement coming down into that area. I don't want to open up a position into that, if I'm honest with you. Again, we may be able to be fair, but we're too near the open, to be honest. We may get a price come down, touch into this, and then rock it back off again. Just take a look. A long position. If I just put this into here, put up just underneath that protected low, and then we come up to that high. There's a 1 to 4 there of a potential. The thing is, do we risk that? Hey, what I'll do, I'm going to risk 1 to 2. I'm going to risk a 1 to 2. I'm going to put an entry on here. Again, stop loss is 27 pips. It's a bit more than what I would be hoping for. So 28 pips for 55 pips and 0.10. So we would lose a tenner but gain 20. So if I can get that position back, 0.5, get that 30 quid back, 0.2. And so we're going to buy a position here. Trying to stage back the entries, you know. So we've got a 0.2 position here, a 0.2 position here, a 0.5 position here. If we get the retracement back into this fair value gap, still pushing to that high on the New York Open high. We're just going to see what happens. We've got the fair value gap here after we've had the displacement and the liquidity grab, you know. So we hold out for this. Worst case scenario, it's going to come down, touch into this and enter into 2 entries, you know. But we'll see what's going to happen with this. Why to stop? But again, if we just come in and touch into this and this holds rather than this enters, and we do push up to the higher side, there's potential of about 30 to 40. We gain back some of the profits, what we've been losing today. Sometimes you've just got to sort of stay within your risk parameters, your risk management, and sort of try and gain that back. We're not doing anything adversely bad to the account, to be honest. We're still within our profits for the week, and that's what this is about. Once you're in profits, you use the equity pool that you've built to try and stay within what you've attained. Okay, there's a lot of traders out there will always put 1%, 1%, 1%. There's some out there that'll even go 2%, 2%, 2% all the time, regardless of what they do. You've got to stay within your boundaries. That's not going to affect your mindset, you know, with regards to hitting so many on the belt. Let's say you're a 2% risk trader, you're hitting 5 losses in a row. There's 10% gone of your equity straight away. So you just need to be mindful of that and be able to trade back on what you do on your setups, you know. So what I'm going to do, we've got 2 positions on buy limits at the moment. I'm going to pause the video. Yes, we've ate into some of the profits, what we've done this morning. Overall, looking at it from a bird's eye picture view, the biases have always been spot on. We just got to learn to trust the process and not get sort of drawn into a trader's revenge, if that makes sense. Yes, I've got back into a position here, but I'm scaling back on what I'm using on a lot size. So even if this hits me out, yes, I've lost a bit, but I'm not risking more than what's the overall equity of the profits that we've attained over the last few days. Overall, looking at this in hindsight, I would have loved to have held those trades and been able to have the 15% of what we got, because then we're looking into some really good positional trading and then being able to risk into what we've attained. But again, moving those SLs has been a very, very bad decision that I've made. So looking at it from outside of the box, it's all about patience. And I've got the discipline and I've got the mindset to keep within the risk management. So that is a big plus. That's a big tick in my box, you know. It's now having the correct mindset to be able to hold a position and not move your SLs too early. Again, it's bitten me in the butt, but again, we learn and we move from that. So I'm going to pause the video. We'll see what happens. See if this position comes into a hold of the fair value gap. And then, like I say, another scenario is we get a second position filled on here. So pause the video. Hopefully you're taking away some little gold nuggets from this and seeing from what I'm sort of experiencing from my mindset, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. But fundamentally, what I'm marking up on the chart has been fantastic. It's on point, you know, and it's these areas are being respected, they're being protected, and the directional bias is correct. It's just being able to manage the trade that I need to get a little bit more adapted to, if that makes sense. So again, I'll pause the video. We'll be back in a short while. Look at this, guys. Again, we haven't quite come down to fill in. I've always now put a position just above, obviously, the fair value gap, expecting price to come down to fill into this. And it would be not even a pip from entry. Is it going to trigger this time? See if we get a trigger. Go on, you've got a trigger. It's touched. That has touched. There we are. We've got a trigger down into that. Again, we might find we're going to get the position filled down to here. All in all, if we lose out again, if we get a trigger on this, it's going to be 50 quid taken on this entry to here. And then there'll be a 20 loss. from this position down to here as well. Okay, so again, we are pushing the boat out now. We can't expect to get profitable days every day, but we're using risk management. Okay, and that's fundamental. Risk management. If this loses today, we're down to £30 or $30 of profit for the week. We just want to see if we can hold positions. We'll just see what happens. What I'll do, like I say, we're getting this entry from here. We'll see if we're going to come down and touch further into this next one as well. I'll pause the video. I am thinking at the moment that if we do take out this area here, we may leave a fair value gap from a selling side, because I still heavily think this is going to have a big play at some point today. And we are only 8 minutes into the New York Open. Okay, there we're there, 8 minutes past 9. As you can see on the bottom, the 17th of January. From there, UK time, it is just after 2 p.m. You know, so I'm going to pause the video. We'll see what happens. I've got two possible entry areas, and we'll just take it from there, guys. It is what it is. Again, this is a learning process for me to keep my accountability there, to do these videos, to try and show you guys what I'm marking up, the approach I'm taking. And if you can take some of it away from it, then hey ho, it's a job done. It's not about being correct. It's about looking at a directional bias. It's about marking a chart up. And if this is going to help you see structure from how I'm marking it up and identifying the point of interest or the POIs on your end, then that is what the takeaway on these videos are for. It's for you to be able to learn. And again, if you ever have any questions, anything at all, you just drop them in the comments and I'll help as much as I possibly can. From there, if I don't have the answer, I can easily source someone or easily source an answer for you to the query you have from within the Discord that we have got. Okay, so I'll pause the video from here. We'll see what happens from price action from here on in. Again, we're looking for the next hour of trading just after 3 p.m. finish on UK time. That would take us to just after 10 a.m. US time. Okay, so shall speak in a short while. All right, so here we are, guys. We have now officially triggered into a second position here. So again, because it combines the position, I can get rid of that there and just hope that this is going to hold structure. If it doesn't, it's going to knock us out. The thing that I've identified that's putting me off right now is the fact that obviously we came up above the midnight open, and we took liquidity from this side, and there was a liquidity grab. We've come down, okay, and we've done a displacement through taking a liquidity grab on here, and then it's come back. And as you can see, we do have a fair value gap there. And if you notice, we were outside of the New York Open. Okay, look what's happened as it's come back into the New York kill zone. It's went and touched beautiful, and I mean beautiful, straight into that area before a sell-off. So, like I say, in hindsight, looking at what's happened here, you're looking at this sort of stuff here, and then price could come down to where I thought it was going to initially attack, which is down here. There's a 1 to 10. Again, it's been an oversight on my part. We possibly going to get stopped out, to be honest. But again, there we are, we're stopped out. And look at that. But at least I'm learning. I'm learning from the mistake on this. From there, we've took a sweep of the New York Open low. So now we've got a lower point. Okay, this here is of no use now. I just want to keep that position open there. We've taken out that, and again, this is just a process of elimination and learning on my part as well, you know. So again, we still have profit. We're still £30 in profit. If this is where it's just wanting to target, okay, we have now made a new lower area from within this. Okay, so this here, it did come down from over this area earlier on. Okay, it's now swept into this lower inside of that kill zone. So we've now got a new New York open low, because we made high lows, and then we're coming down into price, you know. I do believe this area here is where we're going to be targeting now. 50% of the previous daily low. It's just too good of an area and too tasty for price to not want to come in there. 30 pips from being there. Missed out on a really good position of a 1 to 10. And silly oversight. Too trigger happy, too early as always. Patience, learning to be patient is where we need to be. Again, can I get something on the buy side, to be fair? And this is the area where you would need to push out of, in all honesty. And then obviously if you get a liquidity grab up on this side, you need a fair value gap. After the push coming up, you will need a fair value gap left around about on that area. But again, it's just learning from the mistake, to be honest. We started off well at the beginning of the week, and we are still doing well. We're still $30 in profits. We're not doing anything risk averse, you know what I mean? If this stops us out though, which it did do, we are down to $30 of profit. Still happy at that, albeit when we look at things from the data aspect, we could have had like 15% because the bias, the problem that we had with the last few trades going on from the other day, okay, from Friday and Monday and yesterday and today more so as well, the directional biases have all been spot on. They've all went to where they should have been. Whereas this one today, this is the first one that has stopped out officially on a stop loss area. The other ones have stopped out when we've moved the SLs to a break-even point. Okay, I'm just gonna bring the video on so just so you can see my face on this. So again, the videos that I've done so far, okay, the SLs previous to this one that just stopped out, we have had the directional bias correct. The only thing that has been a bad sort of end to those trades is the fact that I moved the SLs to just above break even. The trades went on, held a position, and went on to hit the point of interest. So went on to hit the target profits. So like I say, that would have been 15%. This one today so far has been the first one that's officially hit a stop loss that was below an entry area. So we live and learn from that. It's just what I'm liking about this process at the moment, without going on too much, is the fact when you look in this bottom corner, okay, we started with 10K. We still in profit. We don't expect to get everything correct. And that's what the mindset you've got to carry on with this. But when you do move things wrong and you do get things incorrect, you need to be able to look back on what you've set up and the data you've collected and being able to look at it and understand why. And that's the big thing on this work, yeah? So again, now we're looking at a position where we're coming down to a low. We haven't sort of made a fair value gap as such, okay? We're now creating from the side the low. We might create a fair value gap on here. We could get in on a position, but if I get in on a position now, I now need to factor in the profits that we've made so far. So we still have to just use the equity pool, okay, if that makes sense. Make that equity pool and risk a small amount, if that makes sense. So if it does hit an SL, we are not eating into the profits, or we will be eating into the profits, but not detrimental to the fact that we come back below the starting area, you know. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of that at the moment, because again, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We'll just reset what we're looking at. And like I say, my bias is still for to go along, to be honest. We've got 3 seconds left. we're going to create a fair value gap here. And let's just wait for this candle to clear. And again, maybe in hindsight, we need to start looking at, let's have a look. Maybe we need to start looking at, like I say, this is a 2-minute chart. Maybe we need to start going to a higher time frame and looking for an area of where, let's have a look. I've got the, we need to see if we can find a 2 minutes. I would like to think we can get a 2 minute. So I'll put a 2 minute, add the 2 minute into the chart and put it as a favorite. Okay. Maybe we need to start looking at having a 2 minute chart rather than the 1 minute fair value gap. Because like I said, this is a process of learning. You can go back here. That's a 1 minute fair value. We'll go to 2 minutes. We need to see from a bigger aspect. I mean, like you see there, there's your 2 minute there. Maybe it's, we need to start widening the options. So we've got a 2 minute fair value there. 42 seconds before that is finished. And again, when we're looking at this, at the moment, as long as we don't get wicked into this, this would be extended, you know, because price hasn't officially come further down into this. We'll go back down to the 1 minute. You see where the 1 minute is? Okay, that's your 1 minute fair value there. And we might look to be, we might look to enter a trade again on a buy in a minute, to be fair. We've got 9 seconds. We'll see what happens with this. Because we don't want to refine too much, you know. There's that there. We put a position here. We want to go along 50%. Okay. Going down to here. And then we'll go to the previous day high on this. That's a 1 to just under a 1 to 2. So it's 39 pips and 20 pips. So 22 pips and 40 pips. 22 pips and 40 pips. We'll go for a buy. We'll go for 22 pips. And then we're going to go for 40 pips. Again, risking 15 quid, 1.0. So we'll do that there. So again, we're only risking half of the position. We're only risking half of the position, like half of the profits that we got here. And we just put this onto here. See if we can get that, the directional bias on the buy. Again, watch this, just totally go against what I've said. And we'll see if it hits me out. If this hits me out, then I will be closing out for today, to be fair, because then we're going back down to £15 of profit. I need to reset the mind. I don't want to be going into a negative balance from the 10K. Just want to see what we can get back. See if we can claim some of this back. And I think I might just go for a straightforward sort of trade with this. I might not close, although I'll close a partial out if we can get the position. Come to that. I just need to get rid of that. Let's have a look. So like I say, guys, what I'll do is I'll pause the video and then we'll see what happens if we're going to come to stop loss. If we come to stop loss, it's the trading done for the day. It's just we've had a bad day at the office if that comes into effect. If we come back and we manage to get some of this back, there's a possibility we'll get 30 quid, go back up to a 60 quid retainment of what we've lost. Again, we started at $150. We took a backward step. But it's been risk management. That's the main key. Pause video. I'll be back in a short while. Right, guys, I'm going to call that session for today. Again, well, we've just spiked below the area. Didn't catch that. What's more annoying is the fact that obviously I was expecting price to come to these lower areas. Should have sat my hands. Again, last 3 days, we could be sitting on huge profits. But the takeaway on this is the simple fact of the only time I've been stopped out is on this trade and the one that I just done previous in the New York session. Overall, looking back on the data that I've got, I could have been sitting on just over 15%, nearly 20%, if I hadn't had moved my SLs to above break even on the previous trades. So with that in mind, obviously still got a lot to learn. I've now went from what was, because of moving those SLs to above break even, being just over the 1% or nearly 1 and a bit percent. I've started eating back into that profit. So I'm done for the trading or making videos for this week. This has been the New York session, 3rd attempt today. I'm going to close out with having that little bit of profit and being able to have a mind reset. And then I'm going to go back on to some of the ICT stuff and learn some more videos. Overall, feeling pleased because I'm understanding the structure, so to speak. It's just the two fundamental parts of it that I need to get in on is being patient more and possibly not jumping in straight away on the trades on these kill zone areas prior to the open. Again, we have ended the last 3 that started this Friday last week. We're now Tuesday. I've now took that hit today. I accept that I've took that hit. This is the reason why we're paper trade, we're forward test. I've now come back down to just over $15 of profit. And again, just to show you guys that the account history, we could see on here, we ate into that. And like you see, you can see where I've been taking partials and moving the break evens to just over. So again, we've had some good trades, but from like I said, on Friday of last week, we've took a couple of hits now and 3 hits on the bounce, where I now need to sort of step back, reassess what's going on, do some more data collecting, as in watching the videos, and then seeing if I can understand a bit more, and then we reapply what we learn on that at the moment from the ICT stuff. And yeah, overall enjoying the process. Not get myself disheartened because I now know my pain threshold. I'm accepting I've took that hit, but I'm ending this week at being $15 in profit, and I'm going to go back to the drawing board, have a look at some more videos on the ICT stuff, and then come back in refreshed next week. What I'll do is next week, because I do know ICT, Michael Huddleston does see a trade Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm going to start trading and making some more content Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Okay, so that'll be the next time I'll do some videos. So today we have our first official big loss, albeit we've used the risk management parameters to protect the account. We are still in profit, and that's what counts at the end of the day. So again, guys, if you want to come in and see what we're doing with regards to the Discord, comment, like, share, reach out to me, go to the description in the YouTube channel, and then just use one of those links on there to reach out to me. And again, we can try and help you build your confidence, your consistency, and the profitability. I shall see you all later.